It all started with a shift I couldn't quite put my finger on. At first, it was subtle, little things, like how Emily stopped greeting me when I came home from work, or how she'd spend more time on her phone, scrolling through it like it was her lifeline. We'd been married for 5 years, and we had a good thing going. Or, at least, I thought we did. But lately, there was a distance between us that I couldn't ignore. I wasn't the jealous type, or at least, I never used to be. Emily always had a strong social media presence, posting selfies, traveling with her friends, and sharing the usual perfect life moments. But lately, her posts had started to look different. She was posting more pictures with one specific guy, a guy I'd never seen before. His name was Matt, and he was a fitness trainer at the gym she'd started going to about 2 months ago. I didn't think much of it at first. Emily had always been a fitness junkie, and I'd often encouraged her to focus on herself. But there was something about the way she'd talk about Matt that raised a red flag. She'd mention him in passing, always in glowing terms. How great of a trainer he was, how much he pushed her to be better. It didn't seem strange at first, but the more she talked about him, the more I started to feel uneasy. It was the little things that piled up. Her late-night gym sessions turned into after-work drinks with the crew, which turned into late-night texts, which turned into silence when I asked her where she was or what she was doing. I chalked it up to her getting busy with her routine. After all, she was a professional, and I wanted to support her in whatever made her happy. But the cracks began to show in other places too. Our conversations became more one-sided, and she seemed distant. Not just physically. She wasn't as affectionate, rarely looked me in the eye, and would always rush to take calls in the other room. She wasn't hiding anything, or so I thought, but I was beginning to feel like I was the last person in her life. One evening, I came home earlier than usual, hoping to surprise her with dinner. I wanted to show her that I cared, that I noticed. I had a bottle of wine in one hand, the scent of fresh pasta in the air, but as soon as I walked into the house, I stopped dead in my tracks. There she was, sitting on the couch, texting away on her phone. Nothing new there, but what was strange was how she jumped up the second she heard me. Her face went pale, and she looked completely caught off guard. She tried to play it off, telling me she was just catching up with some friends, but I saw the screen of her phone light up, Matt's name flashing across it. My heart sank. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the coincidence felt too big to ignore. I tried to shake off the feeling that something was off, but the nagging sense of unease settled deep inside me. That night, as we ate dinner in silence, I couldn't help but wonder, was I just being paranoid, or was there something more to it? The next few days felt like walking on eggshells. Every time I looked at Emily, I felt like I was seeing a stranger. Her behavior was erratic. One minute, she'd be laughing at something on her phone. The next, she'd snap at me for no reason. We barely spoke anymore. When we did, it was only about trivial things, what we should have for dinner or whether the dog needed a walk. But then came the day I accidentally stumbled across something I couldn't ignore. I'd been sitting in the living room when Emily left to go to the gym. As usual, she rushed out of the house, telling me she had a session with Matt. For some reason, I decided to clean out the drawer in the kitchen that had accumulated old receipts and random papers. It was there, buried under a pile of junk, that I found it, her gym bag. I knew it was hers because she had this ridiculous monogram on it, some stupid personalized thing she'd bought to feel more gym chic. But there was something off about it. It was heavier than usual, as though something inside it had shifted. So I opened it. At first, it was just the usual stuff, workout clothes, a water bottle, a protein bar. But then, I found a small piece of paper tucked into the side pocket. It was a receipt, and it was from a restaurant I didn't recognize. The date on the receipt was from 2 nights ago, the same night Emily had come home late, claiming she was with friends. My heart dropped. I stared at the receipt for a long time, almost hoping it would somehow disappear or that I'd read it wrong. But I hadn't. It was for 2 people. There was no mistake. The total amount was a little too high for a casual dinner. But it was the name that sent my mind spinning. Matt's name was written on it. I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage was suddenly being called into question. My mind raced. How long had this been going on? Was I really this oblivious to what had been happening right under my nose? I put the receipt back into the bag and closed it up, trying to hold myself together. My hands were shaking. I couldn't confront her right away. The shock was too much. I had to gather my thoughts, figure out what to do next. So, I spent the next few hours pacing the house, waiting for her to come back. The whole time, I kept replaying the moments from the last few weeks in my head. Her late-night gym sessions, her phone calls, the way she'd look at me with that blank expression. I felt sick to my stomach, but I couldn't stop. I was on the edge now, teetering between anger and confusion. I had no idea how to approach this, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Not after what I just found. When Emily walked through the door that evening, I didn't wait. No pleasantries. No usual, "How was your day?" I went straight to the point. "Where were you last night?" My voice was calm, but the words cut through the air like a knife. She paused, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Then, that fake smile appeared. "I was at the gym, Matt, and I finished up a session. You know, just the usual." I didn't react, just stood there staring at her. I wanted to give her a chance to slip up, to dig herself in deeper. After a moment, I said flatly, "Funny. I found a receipt for a restaurant in your gym bag. From 2 nights ago." Her face went pale, her eyes darted away. For a split second, I saw her mask crack. It was just enough. "It's not what you think," she rushed to explain, her voice shaky. "Matt and I went to eat after the session. It was business, just talking about training. Nothing more." I laughed, but it wasn't funny. "Business? Over dinner? You never mentioned this business meeting. And what about the late-night gym sessions, the secret texts? Don't you think you should have told me about it?" She looked frustrated now, but the anger didn't reach her eyes. She was scrambling. "You're being paranoid. Why are you turning this into something it's not? Matt's just a friend, someone I trust." "Is that right?" My voice dropped low, sharp. "How many times have I caught you hiding your phone from me? You've been so distant lately. You're acting like you don't even care." She shifted, clearly uncomfortable, but still tried to stay calm. "You're overreacting. It's not like that, I swear." I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I took a step closer. "Then tell me the truth, Emily. Who is Matt? Why does he keep showing up everywhere you go?" Her lips pressed into a thin line, eyes now avoiding mine. She didn't answer immediately. When she finally did, her voice was barely above a whisper, almost like she was talking to herself. "You'll never understand." That was it. That one line confirmed everything. It wasn't just about a friend or a trainer. There was more going on, and she wasn't ready to admit it. The truth was staring me in the face, and she wasn't even trying to deny it anymore. I felt a cold rush of realization. It wasn't just the lies. It was the way she'd given up trying to keep them straight. She had already made up her mind. And now, I was left with the ugly truth. Whatever was happening with Matt was much bigger than I'd ever imagined. I didn't need her to say anything else. I was done asking questions. But I knew the hardest part was still ahead, finding out what, exactly, had been going on behind my back. I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, my mind stuck on her words. "You'll never understand." That line was a slap in the face, and the weight of it wouldn't leave me. It wasn't just a lie, it was a betrayal. I was already losing her, but she didn't care. I needed answers, even if I had to dig them out myself. By morning, I couldn't pretend anymore. Emily was getting ready for the gym, acting like everything was normal. It disgusted me. She kissed me goodbye, all cheery and fake, but I didn't respond. I just stood there, feeling sick. As soon as she left, I grabbed my jacket. I didn't know what I was expecting, but I needed to find out if Matt was just a trainer or something worse. I drove to the gym, my hands tight on the steering wheel. I walked in like I belonged, trying not to seem suspicious. The receptionist barely looked up as I passed her. But I didn't care. I had one mission, to see Matt for myself. There he was, right in the middle of the gym. But he wasn't alone. He was with a woman, laughing too easily, touching her shoulder like it was no big deal. My stomach dropped. Emily had never mentioned another woman, and the sight of them together made everything click into place. I stood frozen, watching them for a few moments. Matt wasn't just a trainer, he was something else to her. But I wasn't going to stick around for the whole show. I had what I needed. Matt was involved with someone else. The guilt I felt for doubting Emily's loyalty was now replaced by a cold certainty. This wasn't just about her and me anymore. As I turned to leave, I overheard Matt. "Same time tonight," he said to the woman. She smiled and nodded. They were making plans. Not business plans. Personal plans. The kind of plans you make with someone you're close to. I walked out, my heart beating faster. When I got home, Emily was just pulling in. She walked toward the door, still scrolling through her phone. I couldn't let it go any longer. "Who was that woman?" I asked, my voice sharp. Emily stopped cold. Her eyes flickered to me, then quickly away. What woman? The one with Matt at the gym, I said, keeping it simple. I saw you weren't with him today. Who was she? Her face went pale. She took a breath, but her words came out wrong, forced. It's nothing. Just someone I'm helping out with training. I didn't flinch. You're lying. I saw you with him last night. That's not just training. What's going on, Emily? What's your real relationship with him? She hesitated, lips trembling, but I could see she was losing her grip. The fake smile was gone. She couldn't keep the act up. It's complicated, she muttered. Complicated, I repeated, stepping closer. No, it's not. You're not being honest with me. What aren't you telling me? She stepped back, eyes wide, like she was trying to find the right excuse. But there was nothing left. The truth was in front of us, and she couldn't cover it up anymore. I didn't need her to say anything else. I knew what I had to do. The lies were piling up too high, and I couldn't keep pretending. I had to know everything, even if it meant digging deeper into the mess she'd made. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The lies had piled up too high, and I was suffocating under the weight of them. Emily's act was falling apart, and I wasn't about to let her get away with it anymore. The tension between us was suffocating as I stared at her, waiting for her to finally break. Who is he, Emily? My voice was calm, but I could feel the anger brewing underneath. You've been hiding something. It's more than just a trainer, isn't it? She hesitated for a second, then spoke, her voice defensive. He's just a trainer, okay? We've been working together, and that's all. Why can't you trust me? The words didn't sound genuine. I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. Don't lie. I've seen the way you look at him. I know there's more to it. Her eyes darted around the room, as if looking for an escape, but there was no way out. She was cornered. You're just paranoid, she shot back, her voice rising. You're overreacting. I've been stressed, and this whole fitness thing is important to me. It's not about him. It's about me trying to be better. I wasn't having it. I've seen the texts, the late nights, the dinners you didn't mention. Don't think I haven't noticed. She flinched. Her face paled. She opened her mouth to say something, but stopped herself. I could feel the truth slipping through her fingers. I want the truth, Emily, I said, my voice colder now. What's really going on with Matt? She finally crumbled, and I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't going to lie anymore, because she couldn't. Fine, she whispered, her voice shaking. We've been seeing each other for about a month now. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. The words didn't sink in at first. I just stared at her, stunned. Why? I managed to ask. Why him? She didn't meet my eyes. I don't know. I was lonely. It wasn't supposed to go this far, but I got caught up in it. The pain hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just the affair, it was the betrayal of it all. The lies, the secrecy, the way she'd tried to pretend nothing was wrong. How had I not seen it coming? Why didn't you just tell me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She shrugged, her face contorted in guilt. I didn't know how. I didn't want to lose you. But she already had. The trust, the connection, everything was gone. I didn't know what came next. I was done. The woman I thought I knew had shattered, and with her, any hope of fixing this. I turned away from her, the reality settling in. I was alone now. It felt like the ground beneath me had cracked open, and I was falling into an endless abyss. I didn't know where I was going, or if I even wanted to stop the fall. Emily's confession didn't hurt as much as the realization that I had been blind to everything. I had let her slip away, piece by piece, and I hadn't even noticed. How could I have been so stupid? She stood there, waiting for me to say something, but there was nothing left to say. Her excuses meant nothing now. There was no fixing this. The trust that held us together had evaporated in a matter of seconds. How had I missed it? I didn't want to look at her anymore. I couldn't. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. My chest felt tight, my hands cold. I felt numb, like my body had just shut down. How was I supposed to react? What was I supposed to do now? I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her standing there. I didn't care about her explanation, about how lonely she had been, or about Matt or anyone else. I needed space. I needed time to process the fact that the woman I loved had been lying to me, had been with someone else, and had done it all behind my back. I grabbed my jacket and stormed out of the house. I needed air, but what I really needed was to escape from everything. I drove aimlessly, not caring about the destination. The world outside felt like it was moving in slow motion. I tried to make sense of the mess my life had become, but the truth kept hitting me over and over again. I didn't even notice where I was until I pulled into a parking lot by the lake. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in shades of red and purple. The view was beautiful, but I couldn't appreciate it. Not now. I sat in the car for a long time, staring at the water, trying to clear my head. The silence was deafening. The image of Emily with Matt kept flashing in my mind. The way they laughed together, the way he touched her, the way she let him. It was all so damn clear now. I could feel the anger building, but there was something else creeping in, something colder. Betrayal had a way of making you question everything. Did I ever really know her? Was it all just a lie from the start? I didn't know what to do next. I didn't know if I could even look at her again. But one thing was for sure. I couldn't go back to the way things were. This wasn't something I could forgive. Not yet. The phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me out of my thoughts. I knew it was her. She'd probably been calling me all day, but I didn't care. I couldn't face her right now. Not after everything. I silenced the phone and stared at the horizon, lost in my own thoughts. The days passed in a haze. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. Everything felt wrong. The house, once familiar and comfortable, now felt like a cage, full of memories that only reminded me of what I had lost. I tried to avoid her. It was easier that way. She reached out to me, of course. Texts, calls. I ignored all of it. There was nothing to say. What could she say that would change anything? She had already shown me who she really was. It was over. The tension was suffocating, but I couldn't make a decision. I didn't want to stay, but I couldn't bring myself to leave. The thought of walking away from everything we built, it felt unreal, but I knew it was the only way forward. Finally, I walked into the kitchen, where she sat, phone in hand, looking like nothing had happened. It felt like everything had, and she was still pretending. I couldn't let it go any longer. "I'm leaving," I said, the words cutting through the stillness. Her head snapped up, disbelief flashing across her face. "What? No, we can talk. We can fix this. Please, just give me a chance to explain." I shook my head, the words coming out colder than I meant them to. "There's nothing to fix. You made your choices, Emily. Now, I'm making mine." She stood up too quickly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You're just going to walk away? After everything we've been through?" "Yeah," I said flatly. "I'm done. I can't keep pretending. You've been lying to me. To my face. I can't do this anymore." She stepped closer, desperate. "Please don't leave. I love you. I need you. We can figure this out." I didn't feel anything when she said it. Not anymore. Her words were hollow, empty promises that no longer held any weight. "I can't keep pretending everything's fine. You made your choice. You've been with him," I said, finally looking at her, the raw truth in the air. "I can't stay in this. Not after all the lies." Her eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't bring myself to care. She didn't get to cry now. Not after everything she had done. "I'm done," I repeated, voice steady but firm. "I'm leaving." Her voice cracked. "Please, don't do this. Don't leave me." I couldn't respond. I had nothing left to give. I grabbed my bag, walked toward the door, and heard her pleading voice behind me. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. I stepped outside, the cool air hitting my face, the weight lifting slightly. I didn't look back, didn't pick up my phone when it buzzed in my pocket. It was her again. It didn't matter. I had to get away, to think. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay here, not anymore. And for the first time in a long time, I was taking control. I spent the next few days in limbo, the weight of everything I'd left behind pressing on me. I stayed in a rundown motel, the kind where the walls are thin and the silence loud. It was an odd kind of solitude, both comforting and unnerving. The quiet only let the truth linger longer, a constant reminder of what had happened. I didn't answer Emily's calls. I couldn't. Every message felt like another plea, another attempt to pull me back into a life that was no longer mine. I didn't know if I could ever look at her the same way again. Then, late one night, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. I was done with everything related to her. But something in me made me open it. The message was short. "I know what happened. I know about Emily and Matt. You deserve to know the truth." At first, I thought it was a prank. Some random person trying to stir things up. But then the words settled in. Something felt off, but also familiar. I couldn't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, this was real. I texted back, "Who is this?" A few minutes later, a reply came. "Someone who knows what's going on. I've seen it all. You've been lied to." I felt a sudden rush of anxiety. What was this person talking about? Could it be someone who had seen more than I had? Had I missed something? I couldn't ignore the message now. I typed, "What do you know?" The response came quickly. "You made the right choice by leaving. Matt's not just a trainer. There's more you don't know, but it's not my place to tell you everything. Just know it's worse than you think." I stared at the screen, trying to process the words. Who was this person? What did they mean? What was I missing? It didn't make sense. The message hit me harder than I expected. I didn't know if I should be grateful for the information or terrified of what it might mean. What was Emily hiding? And why was this stranger reaching out now? I wanted to know more, but something in me hesitated. What if this was a trap, or worse, more lies? I had already been betrayed once. I didn't know if I could handle another round of deception. But now, I couldn't stop thinking about it. There was more to the story, and I had to find out what it was. The feeling gnawed at me. What was Emily's role in all this? And what had I really walked away from? One thing was clear. The truth was still out there, and it was more complicated than I had ever imagined. I stared at the stranger's text. "Matt's not just a trainer," and paced the motel room until the carpet felt thin. I wanted to call Emily and unload, but I didn't trust my voice or her answers. Instead, I opened her socials. The feed looked clean, curated, harmless. Then I hit a post from 2 weeks ago. Emily and Matt at a bar, shoulders touching, faces close. Caption, "Best night with good friends." 2 glasses in front of her, 1 lipstick mark that wasn't hers. His hand hovered over her chair back like it had been there all night. Not evidence, but not nothing. I zoomed in. Her smile looked easy in a way I hadn't seen at home. He was angled toward her, not the camera. My gut tightened. This wasn't client and coach. My phone buzzed again, the same unknown number. "It's not too late to fix this. You saw enough. Look harder. She's not who you think." "Who are you?" I typed. "Someone who's watched this longer than you," they replied. "You were right to leave." I leaned against the dresser, feeling stupid and wired at the same time. If this was a prank, it was a targeted one. If it wasn't, I'd barely scratched the surface. "What am I missing?" I asked. A long pause. Then, "Check patterns, not excuses. Nights, payments, locations. He isn't the only variable." I read it twice. Payments. Locations. I pulled up our shared bank app. Transactions I'd glossed over now jumped out. A high-end lounge 2 towns over on a Tuesday. A rideshare charge at 1:43 a.m. near the gym, on a night she swore she was with the girls. Another charge at a co-working space she'd never mentioned. I scrolled until my thumb hurt. It painted a route I'd never traveled with her. The unknown number pinged once more. "If you want truth, stop asking her for it." I put the phone down. The story I'd accepted, Emily and Matt sneaking around, suddenly felt too neat. Maybe he was the face of something messier. Maybe he was a decoy. Or maybe the stranger was baiting me. Either way, I couldn't sit in this room waiting for clarity to land. I grabbed my keys. If answers were in the patterns, I'd follow them. The ride felt long, but the clock kept ticking in my head. The patterns I'd seen didn't add up yet, but I knew I was on the right track. The place I was heading was one of the charges, the co-working space from that late-night transaction. It wasn't like her to be there, and the charge didn't make sense. Why would she be working late when she said she was out with friends? I pulled into the parking lot, an old industrial building on the edge of town. The lights were dim, and most of the units were closed. Only 1 or 2 were lit. I felt a bit like an intruder, but the urgency pushed me forward. I walked through the front door, the chill of the night still on my skin. The space was quiet, empty. It looked like the kind of place that should have been buzzing with workers during the day, but now, it was just another shell of what was once busy. I checked the reception desk, but no one was there. The hallways were narrow, and I heard soft voices echoing from the back. I took a few steps closer and stopped. The voices weren't exactly friendly, and they weren't business-related either. My gut twisted. One voice was unmistakable, Emily. Her laugh, sharp but forced, was loud enough for me to recognize it immediately. The other voice, Matt's. I couldn't make out the words, but their tone was clear, too familiar, too comfortable. I felt my blood run cold. What the hell was this? What were they doing here, of all places? This wasn't a work meeting. This was personal. I turned quickly, not wanting to be seen. My heart pounded as I slipped out of the building. I didn't need to hear more. What I had heard confirmed what I already knew. Emily wasn't just keeping secrets. She was actively hiding something bigger, something more. The car ride back was quiet. My mind spun, processing what I'd just witnessed. What were they really doing at that co-working space in the dead of night? What had they planned that wasn't supposed to reach me? I drove through the streets, but my head was elsewhere. There was something about this place, this whole situation, that felt more like a setup than anything else. I wasn't just dealing with her infidelity. There was something else, something that tied all this together. I didn't know what it was yet, but I was about to find out. I couldn't shake what I'd overheard at that co-working space. Emily and Matt weren't just meeting for a late-night business session. They were there together in the dark, doing something I still couldn't understand. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how deep this had gone, how far off track my life had become without me even noticing. I needed to confront her. But not yet. Not until I had more pieces. I wasn't about to walk into another lie without something solid to back me up. The next morning, I spent hours digging into her calendar. That co-working space wasn't the only irregularity. The more I dug into transactions, locations, and timestamps, the more it became clear this wasn't a simple affair. The night at the bar with Matt, the co-working space visit, those random late nights, and even a sudden spike in cash withdrawals, all of it pointed to something much bigger. But what? Then I found it. An encrypted email from her account that looked out of place. It was short, just a link and a vague "see you tonight," Matt attached to it. The email was recent, sent just a day before the co-working meeting. I opened the link cautiously, the anticipation growing. It led to a document titled Plan, but it was password protected. I felt a wave of panic. The document had to be something that explained all of this. I had to figure out how to unlock it. I called in a favor. A buddy of mine knew some tech people who could help. "I'll need a few hours," he said, his voice low. "If it's important, we'll get you in." I agreed without thinking twice. What I was about to find could change everything. But was I ready for it? As I sat there waiting, my mind wandered back to that first day I realized something was wrong. When I looked at Emily and didn't recognize her, I wasn't just being paranoid. There was something hidden, something that needed to come to light. But what if this was worse than I imagined? What if the truth would leave me with nothing but rubble? A few hours passed before I got the call. My heart raced. I answered. "Document unlocked," my friend said. "You're not going to like it." I took a deep breath. I wasn't prepared for what I was about to see. But I had no choice now. The truth was waiting. I clicked open the document, my hands trembling. The screen flashed before me, and there it was, a list of names, dates, and places. A plan, as it was labeled, but not a business plan. No, this was something darker. I scrolled down, my heart pounding with every word I read. The names were familiar. Matt, of course, but there were others too. People I didn't recognize. There were references to meetings, secretive locations, and phrases like escape, final steps, and operation. It was almost like I was reading a blueprint for something that wasn't just an affair. It felt organized. It felt planned. Then came the most shocking part. Emily's role is secured. She'll stay close. Keep her in the dark. Do not let him get too comfortable. I stared at those words, trying to make sense of them. Was this some kind of game? Was Emily involved in something more than an affair? Was Matt just a pawn in a larger scheme? I kept reading. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became that I wasn't dealing with a betrayal. This was manipulation. She was playing a role, but who was she playing it for? Why was she being kept in the dark about something that involved her? I felt sick to my stomach. The plan seemed to be about controlling someone, using them for something larger, something I couldn't quite grasp yet. But it wasn't just about her and Matt anymore. There was a web here, a bigger picture I couldn't see. I slammed the laptop shut, the weight of everything pressing down on me. What was I supposed to do with this? I had no answers. All I had were more questions. This wasn't just about cheating. It was something far more complicated than I'd imagined. I sat there for a while, just staring at the screen, trying to process the mess that my life had become. I had spent so much time looking for answers, and now that I had them, they only opened up more doors I wasn't ready to walk through. But I had no choice now. I couldn't go back. The truth was out, and I had to figure out where it led. I wasn't going to let Emily or Matt or anyone else continue to pull the strings. I would find out everything, even if it meant uncovering more than I wanted to know. The truth was dangerous, but I wasn't afraid of it anymore. I had to face it, no matter where it took me. I couldn't shake the image of that plan. The words burned in my mind. Keep her in the dark. Do not let him get too comfortable. What the hell was this? Emily, Matt. Something bigger was going on, and I was stuck in the middle of it. I needed answers. I wasn't about to be left in the dark. Whoever had sent me those messages had to know more. I dialed the number again, not caring who it was. I needed to confront this head-on. The phone rang twice before someone picked up. Hello? Who is this? I demanded. What's going on with Emily? Why is she part of this? There was a pause. The voice was different now, sharper, more guarded. You don't know what you're stepping into, they warned. Emily isn't who you think she is. This goes beyond her. This goes beyond Matt. You've become a liability. Liability. My voice rose. What does that even mean? I'm not backing off. Tell me what's really happening. The voice sighed, then spoke slower, more deliberate. You've seen the plan. That's just one layer. Emily's been a part of this from the start. But the deeper you dig, the worse it'll get for you. You won't like the truth when you get it. My stomach dropped. Then why didn't you just tell me what's going on? You think you want the truth? They sounded almost amused. You don't know what you're asking for. If you want to keep digging, then you need to go straight to them. Matt, Emily, the people behind them. That's where the answers are. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady my thoughts. I'm not running. I need to know what's going on. Now. There was a long silence on the other end. Finally, the voice spoke again. Then you'll have to face them. But don't say we didn't warn you. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, feeling the weight of the decision in my gut. I could either walk away and pretend I never heard any of this, or I could confront Emily, Matt, and whoever was pulling the strings. I wasn't backing down. The truth was too close now. It was time to face it, no matter the cost. I couldn't wait anymore. The truth needed to be laid out, and I wasn't leaving until it was. I walked into her house without knocking, the door slightly ajar. Emily was sitting on the couch, phone in hand, unaware of my arrival. I took a moment to just look at her. This woman I once knew. How had I missed it all? She finally noticed me and jumped slightly, her eyes wide. What are you doing here? She asked, her voice sharp, defensive. I need you to tell me everything, I said, stepping forward. No more lies. Her eyes flickered. I've already told you everything. What else do you want? Not everything, I replied coldly. I know about Matt. I know about the plan. I know you've been hiding things from me. Her face went white. She didn't even try to cover it up. How do you know about that? Her voice shook. I've been putting it all together. The pieces don't lie, Emily. I moved closer. This isn't just an affair. You're involved in something else. Something much bigger. She stood up, her hands trembling. What are you talking about? It's not what you think. I wasn't backing down. Then tell me what it is. What's really going on? She shifted, uncomfortable. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. But it's bigger than us. Matt was never the problem. He's just a small part of this. Small part. I snapped. What's the rest of it? Who's behind this? What are you really involved in? She hesitated, looking like she was about to break. You don't want to know? You don't understand. Then make me understand, I demanded. Who's pulling the strings, Emily? Why is this happening? She looked away, wiping her eyes. I can't say. I've already said too much. I didn't want to drag you into this. Her words were like a wall between us. She was hiding something, and I wasn't going to walk away without knowing what it was. Too late, I said. I'm already in it. So stop hiding. Tell me what's really going on. She took a step back, shaking her head. It's too late to turn back. I can't protect you from this. I can't even protect myself. Her eyes filled with panic. I didn't know what to make of it, but one thing was clear. Whatever this was, it wasn't just about her and me anymore. I was done with the lies. This wasn't over. I stood there, watching her, feeling the weight of everything that had been left unsaid. Her face was pale, her hands trembling. I could see the fear in her eyes, but I didn't care anymore. I needed answers. I'm not leaving until I get them, I said, my voice low but firm. Emily looked at me, tears welling up. I didn't want it to go this far. I didn't want to pull you into this mess. You already have, I shot back. And now I need to know who's behind it. She took a deep breath, her eyes darting to the floor as if searching for a way out. It's not just Matt. There are people. People I got involved with before we even met. I took a step closer, my pulse racing. Who? What are you talking about? Her voice dropped to a whisper. I was recruited to help with something. Something that has nothing to do with us. Mao was a part of it, but he's just another piece. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I felt a surge of anger and confusion. You were recruited for what? How long has this been going on? For years, she admitted, her voice shaking. I've been trapped in something I don't fully understand. I want it out, but it's too deep, too dangerous. I stood there stunned. This wasn't just about her betrayal anymore. This was something far more sinister. So all of this, the lies, the affair, it was just a cover for something bigger? She nodded, a tear escaping down her cheek. I didn't know who to trust. I couldn't tell you. I didn't want to put you in danger. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process everything. So you used me. You kept me in the dark, manipulated me, all because you were involved in something you couldn't control? It wasn't like that, she whispered. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was trying to protect you, but I couldn't protect myself, let alone you. I stared at her, not knowing what to say. This wasn't the woman I married. She was tangled in something that had consumed her, something that was far beyond us. I walked away without saying another word. There was no point. I had all the answers, but nothing made sense anymore. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and I wasn't sure who I was anymore either. The truth was ugly, and it had torn apart everything I once believed in. I had to walk away, even if I didn't know where I was going. I couldn't fix this. None of it. And in the end, I wasn't sure I ever could.